Hello, everybody. Oh, my goodness. And welcome to In the Paint with Christy Winters Scott right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I am Christy Winters Scott, and I am joined by none other than my sister friend, the sweetest on earth, the savant of the game of hoops and life, LaChina Robinson, my dear. Thank you for joining us.
Chrissy, it is my honor. I'm so excited to be here with my sister, my role model. You know how much I love you and look up to you as an analyst, as a mom, just as a woman. So this is quite a delight for me to be able to spend time with you. And truly, I am honored to be invited to your platform. So thank you.
Oh my goodness, what a blessing this is. And
Yes.
blessing on blessings.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
life journey, LaChina. I mean, let's walk it all the way back to Alexandria City School, aka TC Williams High School, in the DMV. And we can go even before that, actually. Let's go before that a little bit because it was a lot that happens before you get to high school. So,
Mhm.
what was it about your life that when you look back now, you look back at moments prior to high school that you were kind of getting some light bulb moments like, well, I'm interested in this?
Yeah. It's crazy how your life makes no sense at all until it does, right? Like you're just kind of moving along, like what in the world is happening? Why is this happening? And especially as a young girl trying to figure out why God made me the way he did, right? Being 6'4" at the age of 14, feeling so out of place, not involved in sport at that time, and trying to figure out, what makes me special? What should I be doing in this world? What am I going to do with my life? And Christy, there's a thing in the DMV where most of us either grew up playing at the rec center, and that's playing hoops or just playing with your friends, whatever it is, or maybe it's the YMCA, your community center, things like that. And there was a man by the name of Michael Johnson, Michael J is what we call him, and he would always come by my mom's house and say, "Hey, are you sure you don't want LaChina to play basketball? Like she's getting really tall and I think she'd be great at it." My mother's like, "No, no, she's really big on education, first generation college graduate, all of that." So grades were intact, but my mom was like, "I think we'll pass on sports." Until one day he mentioned to her that I could get a college scholarship. And pretty much she was like, "Sign us up." And that was it. So at 14 years old, I was really reintroduced to basketball. I loved watching the game, and my dad was a playground legend. I tried playing in the sixth grade, but didn't really love it. But at 14 years old, it was the right time because it all started to make sense. Okay, being tall could really help me at this. I could get a college scholarship, so I kind of see a future. And at the same time, there was a lot of things happening in women's basketball. The '96 Olympic team came along a little bit after that. I was inspired by them and just wanted to be Cheryl and Lisa and Dawn and all their beauty and their talent. And everything that they stood for. So, growing up in Alexandria, Virginia, we're blessed. We got hoopers in the Virginia area, and I started my foray into hoops as a teenager, and it was a game changer. I felt more confident as a young woman. Really found my voice, my strength, friendship. So it was definitely a journey that I didn't see coming, but one that would change the trajectory of my life.
Oh, indeed, indeed. And those are the biggest blessings that you don't see coming, that just
Yes.
organically evolve. And speaking of your evolution at Alexandria City School, I actually came and saw you play. I was a college coach at the time,
Yeah.
and I was in the gym, Miss LaChina, and I saw you out there hooping. A lefty down there drop stepping. How did it feel like to go from your freshman year, like 14 years old? You said it's
Yeah.
6'4", lefty. It was vicious in there. You were working. You were working. What was that evolution like for you as a player? And then not only that, but as you evolved as a junior, senior, you started getting those letters and you were being recruited. What was that process like for you?
Well, Chrissy, what I can tell you for sure is that your basketball accolades way outweigh mine. So at 14 years old, folks probably knew that you had a future in this game. For me, they were looking at this clumsy 14-year-old who barely had control over her arms and, was trying to figure out the game of basketball. I was not good. My height was definitely something that helped me out a lot as I would grow through those formative years in high school. But I just had really good coaches. I remember my freshman year, most people, their freshman year in high school, if you're going to go on to get a college scholarship, you're probably on varsity, maybe junior varsity. I was on the freshman team. I played freshman, I played JV, and then I played 2 years of varsity. But I still remember my freshman coach, Coach Hagan. He was phenomenal, just very patient with me. I would go on to have the great fortune to play for the Virginia Vogue's AU team and play for Fred Priester, who really the opportunity to play AAU changed the game for me. I was around other girls who were going to play D1, who just had a mindset that basketball is a year-round thing. Fred Priester, as you know, as everyone in our area knows, is one of the best to ever do it, even on a national stage. So it was an interesting journey. My mother did not know anything about basketball, so we were kind of flying blind. She would just come to the games and jump, jump. That was the only thing she would ever say. And I'm like, Mom, you have to learn a little bit more than that. But so it was definitely a process, but I started to get those letters and it became real to me that this could really be an opportunity, a life-changing opportunity to play college basketball. And it really was that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Fred Priester, Oakton High School, still there,
Yeah,
by the way,
I know. Isn't that crazy?
still doing it. It's over
Uh
7 wins. What was his nickname? Free Pre?
Free. Yeah. He had these little penny loafers. He would just stomp on the floor all the time. But we talk about him like Zora Stevenson, who I work with on broadcast sometimes. She came through our Rising Media Stars program. She played for Fred. As you know, Jasmine Thomas played for Fred, both of them, at Oakton. So there's like this, every time we see each other, we're like, what's up with Coach Priester? What is he doing? He's still coaching. So yeah, he's still in the game.
Yeah. Well, he was coaching when I was even playing in high school. So that goes way, way back. So,
Not
yeah.
that far back. Not as good as you look, Christy. It ain't that far back. It can't be.
Maybe more things. But, but no, he is definitely a fixture in DMV hoops. And when you were going through that process of deciding on Wake Forest,
Hmm.
what was that process like? Because I know recruiting is different for everyone, right? And you said you went through freshman, JV, and varsity, but then now there comes some people knocking on the door. I know I was at the door knocking on the door. I was coaching. I came in there to see y'all play. So what was that like to kind of dissect and navigate through the recruiting process at that point in your life?
Yeah. I remember being very wide open to the possibilities when it came to college. Like, I think my visits came down to FAMU because I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I know FAMU had a really good law school, Wake Forest, Clemson, and James Madison. And I don't know exactly how I narrowed down those choices. I knew that I would want to be close enough to home so my mother could drive. I started to learn more about the different conferences. So obviously the ACC, which Clemson and Wake Forest played in, was very attractive. And like I said, I wanted to be a lawyer at that time. So I thought I knew what I wanted to do academically. But I ended up going to Wake Forest for a few different reasons. One was I wanted to play for a Black woman, and Charlene Curtis was the first African American coach in the ACC. Rest in peace, Coach Curtis. And my mother really valued the opportunity to watch a woman of color in a powerful position every day as a head coach, as the leader, as the voice, as the tone setter, and someone that I could also relate to as it pertains to the world. I mean, I was going away from home for the first time. I was going to a predominantly white school where, the girls on my hallway had Mercedes Benz. And I was like, let me just make sure I can afford my deodorant this month. And so it was a very different world. And having someone like Coach Curtis was just invaluable in so many ways. And then competing in the ACC, obviously. But I think the one thing, Christy, for me, yes, my mother could drive to Wake Forest. It was like 5 hours away, but it was also the fact that it was a small school. Wake Forest at that time, and I don't think it's much bigger now, was like 4,000 undergrad. And so I knew I was going to get a lot of individual attention. I think the teacher to student ratio was like 15-1 on average. I didn't feel lost on campus. It felt very intimate. And so those were some of the factors. And I also wanted to go somewhere where I knew I was going to play. Like, I was not going to play at Clemson. They were competing for ACC championships every year. And I knew I needed to get into a place with a program that didn't already have their established stars and their established lineups and a tradition. Like, I wanted to go somewhere where I could help build, because I needed that opportunity and I needed to grow my game. So it ended up being a great fit. I actually wasn't good enough to play at Maryland. I think y'all sent me like one letter and then that was it. Then you came to see me.
I came to see you.
Listen, the terms were a little bit above my level, but I was still happy to be able to play in the ACC and get home to play in College Park at least once every season.
To be fair, there were commitments that happened.
Okay.
Wasn't your skill, because I was definitely pushing for you. I was like,
I know you were. Look, Dee Dee was there at that time. Look, y'all had some good post players now. I've listened.
Yeah.
Y'all were not short of talent. So I think Kelly might have been like coming up on her later years when I started. And so y'all had a good squad.
Yeah, we had a junior college commitment. It was Jamaica Harrell. Remember?
Oh, yes.
We're gonna get her. Like it was like a numbers thing. It was not skill thing. I just want you to know that. So let's clarify.
Okay, I can finally sleep after all these years. Like,
listen, that's exactly what it was, man. It was. I
get it.
I definitely wanted you to stay in the DMV. I wanted you. You know what I'm saying? Like that connection. Anyway,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I know that you became who you are today because of those formative years collegiately. Mm-hmm. I know your freshman year, you were named to the ACC all freshman team. Mm-hmm. So you were doing work. And to be fair, was it your senior year that you came into College Park? I was on the bench at Maryland as an assistant, and Wake Forest, you all beat us. And you were Alicia Mosley and all the came back to MV.
Alicia's from Ellicott City, Maryland. So that was her chance to, Yeah,
but that's my dog too, Mose. That's my girl. But who did you become, right? Mm-hmm. Through those years, and not that rewards and awards build your confidence or whatever that is that builds in you, and you're recognized for the hard work that you've accomplished. But there is something that changes in you when you do have a light on you, when you do have someone say, hey, you're actually, impacting us more ways than you think. So outside of the tactical side of hoops, where you were recognized as a freshman on the ACC all freshman team, what was it throughout your career that you can look back at now that you can pinpoint and say, it's because this happened during my college career, my collegiate career? Charlene Curtis, did she have something that she said to you or guided you in such a way to be able to catapult to where you are right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Christy, because you really don't know what lives inside of you until you find out, right? And I think the ways we figure out who we are and what our characters looks like is often through challenges, right? Through different life experiences. And that's why I just love what we go through in terms of the transformation as student athletes. Like you mentioned Coach Curtis. Yeah, she did do something. When I came in my freshman year, she said, you will not get your jersey. You cannot practice with the team until you make your mile time. And not until that moment did I realize that I did not know how to push myself mentally or physically, Christy. I had never been challenged in that way. Running was really not my thing. I had the potential in me, but I didn't really know how to push myself. And so when I eventually did, I mean, I had to get up in the mornings and do extra workouts at the track. The track smells like the sand pit in the morning. So you feel like you might, you're not feeling good. You're queasy. It's
Right.
early. You got to make your time to get pushed. And it was just in those moments of challenge that I realized I have a competitive spirit. I do. And I have a desire, like I never want to disappoint people. And that's something also that I learned about myself and have had to unlearn as I've gotten older. We can get into that whole chapter some other time because I do think you have to know how to disappoint other people in order to not let yourself down. But I just wanted to be successful so bad, but I hadn't figured out those characteristics that
Yeah.
I had until I got to college. It was
Mhm.
like, okay, I am competitive. Okay, I can push myself. I can set a certain mindset or a certain goal and achieve it. I ended up starting my freshman year. We had 6 freshmen in my class, and at least 2 of them were post players that had more experience than I did. But I was so determined. I was like, I am going to just do my best, leave it out on the line. And so I found out in college that I had I had some stuff to me, right? Like I had this confidence that was slowly building through those different challenges and figuring out how to navigate, how to live away from home, how to have those conversations on my own with people on campus and my professors and make friends. Like it's not an easy transition at all in college. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I like to talk. I like to dance. There were just so many aspects of my personality that started to blossom in college, and so again, it's an experience that I would never trade for the world.
Oh my goodness, and look at you now. I mean, it's just to hear that is going to inspire so many people because they think, oh, you just go to college and it just happens for you and it's easy and it's just, snap of a
Oh no.
finger. There is such a process and underbelly to it that you have to give yourself grace through, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen
Yeah.
it. I've seen it, from all angles, right? And it's
Yeah.
a major deal.
And I will say this one more thing. I think the other thing that really hit me when I was in college, my mother lost her job my freshman year. And so there was suddenly this feeling for me of my mom is not going to be able to take care of me when I leave here. Like suddenly there was no fallback plan. There was
Uh,
no plan B. There was no other alternative. And it's amazing when you don't have anywhere else to go, how
Absolutely.
that drive just kicks in. It was like my mother has got to take care of my sisters at home and my little brother. Like I have to do this for myself. And so that was a game-changing moment in itself, is figuring out how I was going to make it through college and stuff without, the support of my mom, trying not to be a burden on her. And also knowing that there's no plan B at this point. There's only a plan A. So
Oh,
that was another game-changing moment for me personally in college.
yeah. Well, that's full throttle right there. That's, hey, we gotta go. We gotta
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Right. The
Yeah.
job done. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes you need, that reality and that perspective to fuel and drive you. That's amazing, to think about too. And that's gonna motivate someone who may be going through that same thing. So I appreciate your transparency and vision on that and allowing us to take a peek behind the curtain with you with that. But when you finished at Wake Forest and you were trying to navigate, I know you said you wanted to be a lawyer, but you're trying to navigate which way to go career wise. What was that like? Because I know what it was like for me. I mean, that was like a free fall because you have a routine, you have your classes, you have your practices, you have your study hall. This is when you eat. This is all these things, and then you graduate, and then now it's like, see you later. Good luck on your daily schedule and what you want to do in life. What
Yeah.
was that free fall, if you will, moment like for you after graduation?
Free fall is such an excellent way to describe it, Christy, because I cried like a baby after my last game. Like I immediately had that sense of nothing's ever going to be the same, right? And at that time, there were some opportunities for me to play overseas, but I had an injury, a back injury, and I was going to have to sit out for a year. So I knew my next move was not going to include sports. And it is a free fall. I remember going to the office the next day, the basketball office, and they looked at me like, "Can we help you?" And I was like,
Yes.
just feeling so lost and suddenly having that controlled. And it's so important to allow yourself to feel those things in that moment, right? The grief, to allow yourself to kind of sit and think about, okay, what things bring me joy and energy every day? What do I want? What makes me feel alive? Because it's not going to be the basketball in your hands anymore. But there can be some aspects of that experience that lead you to your next path. And so I was really grateful for the support that I had at Wake Forest, where our academic advisor said, she said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to stay close to basketball."
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, I want to stay close to sports. And she had me apply for an internship called the Futures Interns in the ACC. And it was a group of internships for graduating student athletes. And it was in various areas: television, athletic administration. And of course, I didn't choose the television option. I chose the athletic administration option. Because at that point, TV was not even on my mind. I was like, okay, lawyer didn't work out because I didn't want to take all the classes I really needed to take in school. I then wanted to be a psychologist, but barely made it out of Psych 101. And so I landed on sociology and really didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just liked the coursework. So my plan became, let me stay close to basketball. So I got that internship. I worked with all of the conference schools at the ACC, which was an amazing opportunity. Every sport championship I was a part of administratively. I learned a lot. I networked. And after I was done with that, I moved to Atlanta to take a job at Georgia Tech because I wanted to be an athletics director. And the position I took was for an administrative assistant for recruiting for women's basketball. So I was going to work on the administrative side of basketball. I didn't want to coach. I was not blessed to coach like you. Just never had that inkling. But I really enjoyed the behind the sings work. So I did that at Georgia Tech for 7 years. And then I had a quarter life crisis at like 27 years old. And was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this. So if you're listening to this podcast, it's never too late to make a pivot. Listen to your heart. Listen to your heartstrings, your passion, talk to people around you, stay tapped in, right? I just was like, I don't know that this is the path. And my next step was literally like assistant AD. And I was like, I gotta make a decision.
Right.
And I had, there were some people who said, "Oh, you should try television." And I was like, I don't have a broadcasting degree. I was not a communications major. I have no experience. Like, how is this even going to be a thing? Right. So I had put that out of my mind until one day they asked me to do the radio for Georgia Tech women. And I put that headset on and Christy, I have not worked another day in my life. I found my love and my passion in that very moment and just did everything I could to do it more often and every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. How about that journey? LaChina? I remember, was that around 2009, 2008?
Yeah. I think I got my first game in 2009, but I think 2007 was when I think I started doing more of the radio and was like, okay, this TV thing might work.
Yeah. I remember, and I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you remember, but you sent me an email around that time. You don't remember that?
I know that I reached out to you, but I can't remember exactly because you were my North Star. And I was like, I want to be Christy. I want to do what she's doing. So it doesn't surprise me. What did I say? I hope something smart.
Oh my goodness. No, it was basically what you were just saying right there about, you were trying to figure out which road to take. And I was like, oh my God, basketball, like do the broadcasting. I was all for like, we need you. The game needs you. And you were basically saying you were in Atlanta, you were with Georgia Tech. And I was saying something about, TNT being right there, NBA TV, like just go in there, like, hey, how you doing? And get yourself in there. And then the Atlanta Dream happened.
Yep, that was in 2008. Yep, I started on radio with the Dream in 2008. Wait, so what year did you start? What year did you start in broadcasting?
Me?
Yeah.
Me? Oh, yeah. Boy. Oh, wow. I have to wait. See, you asked me the questions. I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because now.
I started way, 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 way. So I was coaching and doing broadcasting.
Okay, so you were
I was
doing it for a
with,
while. Okay.
remember that rule, like Pat Summit was calling games, Gino.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so they went
Yeah.
away from that because there was an advantage recruiting because there's so much visibility,
Yep.
talking about and there's like scouting, like if Gino's calling a game and then oh my gosh, they're actually matched up with them in the tournament. It just
Yeah.
became like very convoluted. So I was
Mhm.
coaching and doing some broadcasting here and there until the NCAA made
Okay.
rules. So I would say, oh my gosh, 99?
Okay,
Like
so you were doing it, yeah, because I was like, I'm sure I was already reaching out to you because I was watching you on TV. I was like,
and
I
then
know that for a fact. But yeah, no, I was
yeah,
obsessed with women's basketball. Like
yeah.
I remember when I first graduated from college, one of the things that I did was I volunteered to work
Mhm.
the Final Four. The year that that I was done, I was like, I
Yeah.
want to be close to basketball. The Final Four was in Atlanta that year. I was like, I am going to the Final Four. I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to be with Pat Summit. I'm going to be passing her clipboard and her towel. Well, the volunteer assignment happened to be at the Atlanta airport, telling people which way the shuttle was, right?
Dang.
But I was so in love with women's basketball. Like I was just like, I love the sport. I love playing it. Like you, it's like I wanted to be a part of it, and broadcasting seemed to be that door that was starting to open for me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And open it did. I mean, with the Atlanta Dream being right there,
Hmm.
the evolution through that time for you. What was that like? How did that come about to be? I know you said you were doing some radio with the Dream, and then you moved through with the WNBA after that.
Yeah, so there's a woman, and you know her name is Danielle Donahue, and she's actually getting inducted to the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame this year. Very, very much deserved. But she was like president or CEO for the Dream in its first year. And I remember her telling me, I was like, if you guys have a broadcast, Danielle, because we were friends before then. We had played against each other at Georgia Tech. I had kept in touch with her while she was at Tennessee for the many years she worked alongside Pat Summit. And I said, if you guys have a broadcast, like I want to be a part of it. And I had actually been a part of a lot of the meetings of the planning of the team. That's how I know Stacey Abrams. I was in the room when the committees were talking about what was they going to name the team, and what would be the plans, because I was hosting those meetings on behalf of our head coach Michelle Joseph at Georgia Tech. So I was already in the know. And then when we found out that there was going to be like a radio broadcast, I was like, Danielle, please, like I will do it. And of course, it was like probably $25 a game, like nothing crazy. I worked with a man named Art Ekman, and I loved it. It was amazing. We had like, oh God, I can't even remember who ended up being. Angel McCautry didn't come to '09, but there was Ivory Latta.
Yeah.
The team started in '08 with Ivory Latta. Erica DeSouza was a part of the team very early, Sancho Little, all those that continue to be staples. But we had, our Minty Price Harrington, Betty Lennox was on the team at one part in those early days. So it was great. And my career with the WNBA would continue to grow. I think something monumental that happened for me after that '08 year was 2010 NBA TV, which is Turner. So you were right about that. They ended up calling, and a woman named Tara August put me in studio as an analyst. And I was like, I have no accolades. I've never won a championship. In fact, I've actually never played in the NCAA tournament. However,
Right.
here I am as your WNBA analyst. But Christy, as
Right.
you know, the line was not long back then to
That's
cover women's basketball,
that's
right? Because we weren't as visible. We weren't getting paid as much. People were like, women's basketball, whatever. So I'll
yeah.
do it, right? And people were like, all right, let's give her a shot. So it's been such a God-led journey. Like literally he has opened up doors that I could have never, ever, 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 ever imagined happening. Ever.
I love it. And always understand that you were meant for that moment. And it doesn't matter. all the other things, that doesn't matter. Like, you were meant for that moment. God has his hands on you still to this moment. But
Amen.
don't ever downgrade or say, like, I don't know why I was there. No, you know why you were there, because God wanted you to be there, because that was another seedling to blossom you to this moment that you're in right now. So don't ever water that moment down like, man, I don't know what. No, God wanted you there.
Thank
And
you,
God
Christy.
wanted you there so other people can see you, right? And now you have the Rising Stars program where you are affording these young women those kind of God wink, God led opportunities. I know we skipped over like some years there, but I want to go straight to that because I'm led to that right now.
Yeah.
You have been able to not only be where you are and sustain your success in a myriad of ways, not just behind the microphone, but in the community, for our young Black women to grab their hands and say, this is the blueprint. This is how I did it. You belong here in the room at the table. Oh, don't get me preaching. Listen, you
Ooh.
you have changed the lives of so many. I remember your Twitter handle was lives to inspire for a long time. And I always thought that was so amazing because you are currently living to inspire so many who see your beautiful face, not only on NBA TV, ESPN, on the desk doing all these things, but at the Olympic Games in Paris, France,
Mm.
LaChina. You belong at that table forever, for the rest of your life. And not only
Mhm.
that, like, when you're sitting there, you've got those rising stars sitting right there with you at that desk on your shoulders. What made
Mm.
you want to do something like that, number one? And what does it mean to you to resonate in that motivating way as a mentor, as an encourager, as a lifter for not
Mm.
only our game, but for our young Black women?
First of all, those words that you just spoke to me, I am over here on the verge of tears. So thank you, Christy. Like, that was so beautiful. Like, I can't wait to run that back. Make sure this makes the cut. I need to listen to those on the days where I'm lacking confidence. But no, thank you so much for that. And I really owe it to you, to Carolyn Peck, to Robin Roberts, to all the women that came before me that set the table for me to be here, quite honestly. Doris Burke, like I've always wanted to help people. I can say that. Like, that is just like internally who I am, right? Like, I'm that person who, if I can help someone, I never want to miss that moment to be able to lift someone up. But I also want my life to inspire and to lift others to believe in more than they think they're capable of. Because that's literally been the story of my life. I never, ever would have thought my name would be called to work an event like the Olympics as an analyst for the sport that I love. Like, unbelievable, unbelievable. So I try to bottle that up and share it with the women of our Rising Media Stars program. For those that don't know, Rising Media Stars is a nonprofit, 100% volunteer organization where we help. I'm a co-founder. We help women of color jumpstart their careers in sports broadcasting. We have an amazing board of directors. We have great partners like NBC and NCAA. But what it comes down to is you can have a dream, but you don't know how to get there. And we've all been in that situation. Like, I know what I want, I can see it, but what are those practical steps? Who are the people I need to know? What's the skill set I need to be building? Like, all of those things. And I want to help these women to make their path easier than mine was, to make their path easier than yours was, right? Sometimes the older people, the older generations will say, well, you got to struggle hard and we worked hard and we would. I am okay with things being easier, especially for women of color who have it harder in every single way in society, being a double minority, right? And so we accept 5 women every year and we take them through in the field experiences. They work the Women's Final Four, WNBA draft. We have partnerships with the Atlanta teams here, the Falcons, Braves, Hawks, United, Dream. And they get to do stand-ups, and they get to actually cover sports as if they were working full time. Yeah. And so that gives them not only confidence, we're giving them feedback, but they get a little piece of video for their reels. They just get to build their network and meet a lot of people. And so we've had 25 women come through the program. And it's really, Christy, it's the most rewarding work, if you can even call it that I've ever done. I mean, I have never been more motivated in my own career by the fact that I know that we have these 25 women watching my example every day and really believing in themselves as they see me excel. So, you get to the point where you're like, wow, I'm doing more than I could ever imagine. I'm so blessed, but it just wasn't enough, right? It was like, how can I help someone else live their dream? So it's been incredible. I'm thankful to you for everything you have done with the women in our program. So many mentors, so many people. It takes a village, but it's literally, I hope that when we look back, there'll be more women of color covering sports than there was when you got in, than there was when I got in, and especially covering other women of color, right? Like, it's important to have representation for the WNBA. That's the majority Black league, of people who are writing and storytelling that understand their experiences beyond sport. So it's a beautiful community. I'm happy to be a part of it. And these women have been more of a blessing to me than I really think I've been to them.
Oh my goodness. I mean, speak on it, because that's exactly what it's all about. To whom much is given, much is expected. And that's what it is, to pour back in. It's Charlene Curtis. It's all of your experiences, right? Along your way, your mom, right? All of your resilience that you had to show through your journey is now being poured into these young women. And I've seen it. I saw y'all at the Final Four, and they're beaming, and I see you watching them, right? And how beautiful that was for me. I was like in tears seeing that. Like, I'm almost in tears now. It was just like this flash forward for me moment to see you as the blueprint for these young women, and to continue to grow and develop them and encourage them, because we're missing that. I think we're missing the encouragement piece for our young women. Like, they need that. And for as strong as we are, as strong as women are, I'm just saying in general, as strong as women are, it's just kind of an acceptance. Like, you're supposed to be strong, but it's not easy always to be that strong one. It's not, right? And who is there to encourage the encourager?
Yes.
And that's what, I mean, I hope I'm that for you. I want to be more of that for you and for everyone else. Like, we need to continue to ride this wave, right? And understand that we all need each other. And you said that they're more of a blessing to you than you are to them. That
100%.
That's what it's all about. But you're a blessing, right? To me,
yes,
you do that. That blessed my spirit that day at the Final Four, to see you on the sideline or on the baseline right there with that group of Black women doing their thing, and you watching them and saying, like, stand over there a little bit, like, go over here a little bit. And I'm like, look at LaChina. Like, I don't know if you saw me looking at you, but I was just like, if that's not the most beautiful moment. And I have to share, it's bigger than basketball. It's bigger than it's more than that. It's what sports brings out of you. And it's not necessarily, okay, basketball is what you do, it's not who you are. I don't agree with that statement, because it is who you are. It's who you become through the sports that you play. I don't care if it's basketball, soccer, or whatever. It's who you become character-wise through your journey. And in that moment, I saw you, LaChina. I saw everything that you have journeyed through reflected on their faces, looking back at you, directing them and helping them. So continue to do that. I know you have another nonprofit too, Stretch Beyond. You also have Around the Rim, your podcast. I mean, your voice is prominent in the game, as it should be. But what is it about, that give back that, number one, you want to continue, and where the game is right now, how do you see what you are doing now impacting the current upswing of respect for women's basketball?
Yeah, I mean, Christy, you absolutely have been that person for me. So let me just reassure you of that. I'm giving back to them what you have given to me over time, even if it's just and I see you. It may seem so small, but like, hey, I'm listening to you, or I love seeing, like, those little things are so reassuring because this journey can be lonely.
Yeah.
But this is a responsibility. That's how I see it. It's a responsibility to not only build the community around us, right, like of support, but it's also growing the sports coverage. Like,
Yes.
I kind of feel like, when I came into this, there were people I looked up to, but I didn't really see anybody coming behind me, right? It was like I was in this kind of middle ground of women's basketball coverage, of sports media coverage, where it was like there was some that were already ahead of where I was going, but what are we doing about those that are coming up next? Like, how are we helping them? And
Mhm.
then how, once you have your experience, how are you utilizing that experience to help others? And that's one thing I want to say, Christy, too, about mentoring. Mentoring is this big word. It's a beautiful word, but it can often intimidate people. You don't have to be some brilliant thought leader to be a mentor.
Right.
We underestimate every day how our experiences could incrementally move someone's life ahead in ways that they have always needed and didn't even realize it. Like, we undervalue our experience. We undervalue the things we've learned. We undervalue the advice that we could pass on for other people. And that's really all it is. It's sharing what you learned in that journey to help move others along. But what
Yeah.
I see as my responsibility in this is absolutely building the pipeline of media when it comes to women that look like me. That is a responsibility that I take with pride. Yes, I'm supposed to call games to the best of my ability. Yes, as a women's basketball talent, we've been pushing the doors and beating down the doors for more coverage, for more money, for more of everything. That has
Yes.
just been a built-in aspect of what we do. But without a doubt, I know that it is my responsibility to ensure that the women that look like you and I have the support, have the resources to be the voices that come after us, because we're not going to be here forever,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And we want to make sure that the table is set for those that are coming after, so that when these athletes look out into the crowd and they're doing that press conference, they see a face that represents who they are in all aspects of who they are. And so that's what I hope my legacy will be. Again, I am enjoying everything that I do, but nothing is more rewarding than rising media stars. And I hope that I have moved the needle for women's basketball. I know that I have worked very hard to do that, sometimes at my own detriment and sacrifice. But at the end of the day, how these women make it to their dream place is really my biggest focus and what I try to really stay focused on every day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this. When you walked in to the arena in Paris
Mhm.
and you were going over to the table, what was that moment like for you? And what was going through your mind before you locked in on all the information that you had to go through for the game and the game unfolding and you have to call it? But right before, like 5 minutes beforehand, what did you say to yourself then?
Look at God.
Oh, baby.
Look at God. I mean, that's really the only words that came. I was like, look at God. And Christy, the only way that I was able to settle into that chair was because I knew that anything he brought me to, he prepared me for.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have bought me there because only he could have done it. He wouldn't have bought me there if he didn't prepare me to do the job that I was bought to do. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful for the years of calling games, because sitting in that seat feels like home for me. You
Yeah.
know, like it feels like home when I am in a shoot around, when I am in the gym and I'm about to call a game, like it feels like home.
Mhm.
And that is our only job when it comes to our career development is pay attention to those places that you occupy that feel like home. When it
Yes.
feels like home, that's where you're supposed to be. So that's all I could say was look at God because I still can't believe I got that call. Like it blows my mind.
No, and you are amazing and excellent
Thank you.
in so many ways. And I was just beaming every time you popped up on the screen. I was like, "There's my girl, man! Get him, get him, get him, get him, get
Thank
him,
you.
crush it!" Like it was so beautiful. But I just wanted to know, like, the inner workings of how you sometimes have to step back and see the big scheme and the big picture of things. And I know you're not thinking of your entire journey in those moments, but I know you're thinking of what, like, stepping back and kind of soaking in the atmosphere, soaking in the opportunities, soaking in all of the things. And I just wanted to ask you that. That was my own
Thank you.
personal.
No, I appreciate that. And like your shirt says, is bigger than basketball. Those moments are bigger than me. You know, they're bigger than us. There's something else that is happening. Someone needs to see you in that space. Like there's a reason for everything. I truly believe it. So that moment was definitely bigger than me and one that only God could orchestrate.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh my God, look at God. I'm gonna just have that like ringing in my ears for the rest of the day today. That was just beautifully stated. And we're about to get out of here, and I have to just ask you a couple of things about the state of women's basketball
Hmm.
and how it has grown. Yes, but
Hmm.
how does women's basketball sustain its current level of visibility, respect? Companies now with all the investments, WNBA is expanding. What do you foresee? Let's do a 5 year window. So in 5 years, women's basketball will be what?
In 5 years, women's basketball will be even bigger than it is now. We can't settle, Christy,
Right.
right? We still have a long ways to go. We have made monumental strides, and it starts with investment, right? Like, let's be honest, like where we are now and where this women's basketball movement needs to go all hinges on investments. So, corporations sitting in those boardrooms saying, we are going to give equal sponsorship to men and women, right? It is networks continuing to raise the level of visibility for the broadcast that they're putting on for women's basketball. It is media entities deciding that they're going to designate and pay people to write specifically about women's basketball and to follow the sports, beat writers that
Yes.
that travel and are with the team every day. Like these are all things that are starting to happen, but have to continue to happen. Ownership groups that are going to be held accountable for their level of investment on their teams, their
Yep.
resources, their facilities, the things that they're providing these athletes. Everyone has to continue to raise the bar.
Right.
Like literally, no matter what seat you sit in, it's not too small. And whatever platform you have, it is big enough. Even
Right.
if you got one person, that
That's
is enough for you to impact the growth of women's basketball. And we
yeah.
all have to take on that responsibility. And we can't settle for what we've seen. It's been beautiful. It's been magnificent. It's beyond what I could have ever imagined, right? Happening so quickly. But
Yeah.
quite honestly, the game deserves it and the
Period.
game deserves more.
More.
So
More.
that's where I am still as focused as I've ever been. Like I said, people don't realize that about you and I is that we are talent in front of the television, but we got 50, 11 other jobs as advocates of this sport,
Yes.
pushing the needle, trying to improve things across the board from our seats for those coming after us, for the players we cover, for the league. Like the work doesn't stop.
No.
So that's, I'm just grateful for like the opportunities that I have had, that, you have, that we all have, but it's not enough.
No.
Pay's got to get better.
Yep.
Visibility has to get better. Investment has to get better. Like there's still so much work to do. I'm excited about more teams.
Right.
I want resources to support those teams. I want there to be, development for these players in the off season. I love Unrivaled. I mean,
Ex-
what a dream, I mean, what an inspiration of a league for
Wow.
us to be watching, like right in front of our eyes, doing everything we always knew was possible for women's sports.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my really parting thing is we can be even further light years away from where we are now in terms of growth. We can grow exponentially, but
Yeah.
it's got to stay consistent with the investment. We've got to continue to invest no matter what seat you're sitting in.
I agree 1,000%. And if you could give 14-year-old LaChina some advice right now, or what would you say to your 14-year-old self?
I would say you have so much life ahead of you. Like, enjoy the twists and turns, enjoy the journey. I used to get so caught up in like what was happening in that moment or what wasn't happening for me or how far I feel like I should be. You have so much life ahead of you. You got time to make mistakes. You got time to do a 360 pivot. You got time to like give yourself grace along the journey because it's going to be fun. There'll be ups and downs, but you got a long road ahead. So buckle in and enjoy the ride.
Oh my gosh, a long, beautiful journey ahead for
Yes.
14-year-old LaChina. It has been a blessing to catch up with you. I know you have some personal news. You have the left hand, your left
Oh, yes.
hand
I
up.
am engaged. Yes. Yep. What about 4 or 5 months now? Yep. My fiance's name is Jonathan. Proposed to me surprisingly in Atlanta in August. So we will be getting married. We haven't set a date yet because wedding planning is a lot of work.
Yes.
But I'm excited. And Chrissy, I know you've been married a long time, so I'll be calling for advice. Like, hey, girl.
Hey, like what you said, giving advice to your 14-year-old self, like keep
Right.
going the twisted turn, all of what you
That part.
is exactly what but it's a beautiful thing. There you go. That all okay. There
I
we go.
love it. I
So,
love it. Thank you for that. But thank you. Yes, we're excited.
so beautiful. What a journey. Oh my God, LaChina. I wish we could just stay on here for the rest of the day, but I know
I
that
know. This has been so great.
yeah, no,
Thank you for this, Christy. This has been an awesome time. Really,
oh,
it has.
I love you. I love you. And you know that. I can't wait to squeeze you again as we
I
have the biggest hugs
know.
ever we do, bump heads and see each other. Probably at the Final Four again. I don't know. We
Right.
are a Rising Media Stars group again, where I can just see you blessing those young women over and over
Yes.
again and continuing to pour into our game that we both love so much. So I
Yeah.
love you for sharing this time with us today on In the Paint with
Oh,
Christy Winters Scott on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I have to throw that in there, but LaChina Robinson,
I love
you,
you too, sis.
I love
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, baby.
I
All the best.
appreciate you.
Mwah, mwah,
Mwah.
mwah.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait to see you again. Love you.
Love, 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 love.